Hirono, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses for your testimony regarding what more we should be doing or could be doing to support Ukraine. Very briefly, for both of you, President Zelensky has called for a no-fly zone to push back on Russia and Ukraine, especially as Russia is now using cluster bombs to target civilian populations. From your perspective, what options exist to support Ukraine's request to help them push back Russia and gain air superiority, knowing full well that enforcing a no-fly zone could result in NATO forces, U.S. forces directly engaging with Russia?
Thank you, Senator. I think we just agreed here. I'll go first because my colleague deferred. Senator, I would have liked a no-fly zone about a week ago, before Russia owned the airspace, before it became a semi-permissive environment to a non-permissive environment. At this point, it is going to take a lot of effort to fight, whether it's NATO assets through or U.S. assets through, and will not necessarily result in strategic outcome that I think we want to realize. I think that we're better suited to supply the Ukrainians with fighter aircraft and allow them to combat Russian air assets over Ukraine. And we've been talking about how much NATO allies have done over the past few days. Unfortunately, I read news today that the fighter aircraft that were promised to the Ukrainians by some of our NATO allies will no longer move forward. So I think the emphasis, as I've outlined earlier in my testimony, should be on supplying the Ukrainian the aircraft and other capabilities they need to defend their territory and fight for their freedom. Senator.
You would have, I think we acknowledge that for enforcement of a no-fly zone, that could result in a pretty big escalation of what is happening in Ukraine. So there is that. I want to move to an issue that directly involves how we're going to meet the strategic needs of Indo-PACOM in the area of fuel. In recent years, the U.S. has enjoyed uncontested freedom of movement around the globe. However, advances in our competitors' technologies is taking this advantage away. Previously, large reserves of pre-positioned stocks at fixed sites like we see at Red Hill Bulk Fuel Storage in Hawaii and large fixed formations of troops serve the DoD well, but I think it is clear the posture of the department needs to change. So focusing on, once again, Red Hill, where there's been a tremendous concern about the fuel tanks, which endangers our aquifer on Oahu, which supplies the majority of the water needs of the people of Oahu, is leaking. And